So we are starting chapter 3 today. Our lesson notes are going to be over 3.1, combining like terms. The first thing that we have to do is talk about what a term actually is. So our lesson notes are titled combining like terms. So we know that the word combine means to put together. Like is something that's similar, they're like each other. And then this last word, a term, means a single number, variable, or number and variables multiplied together, and they're going to be separated by addition or subtraction signs. So that's what I'm going to be looking for, addition or subtraction signs. I see an addition sign there, so I'm going to draw a huge wall right before that addition sign. And I'm going to do that to every single addition or subtraction sign that I see. I'm going to draw a big wall between them. And then when I have that big wall, I can figure out my different terms. So if we're looking at this expression down here, how many terms do I have? Hopefully you were thinking 4, because there's 4 different groups of numbers. So like I said, it could be a single number, like 7.1, a single variable like x, or numbers and variables multiplied together, which is what that 3 times y is, or 3y, and that negative 1/2 x. Like terms, remember the word like means similar. They look kind of sort of the same. Like terms have the same variable, same powers, but they can have different coefficients. So let's go ahead and draw our walls right before our addition or subtraction signs. So there's another wall. So think to yourself, how many different terms do I have here? And hopefully you said 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we're going to be looking for those like terms. So they have to have the same variable and they have to have the same powers. So I don't really care about these coefficients because it says that they can have different coefficients. Coefficients that number out front. So I don't care about that 6. I'm looking at x squared. So I know that this is one type of like term. And I'm going to see if any of the other ones match this one. So again, I don't care about that number out front, and I see that it's x squared. That's the same thing as my x squared here. So I know that 6x squared and negative 3x squared are like terms. See if you find any more like terms. Hopefully you noticed that we have an x and an x. So again, I don't care if it's a 2 or an 8. What I'm looking at is that variable and the powers. So remember the variables down here and the powers up there. So x squared. This is just x, and it doesn't have a power. Technically the power is 1, but anything to the power 1 is itself because it's just being multiplied by itself. So this x is the exact same variable as that x. And then we also have a negative 7 tacked in at the end, and that's going to be a like term by itself. So it's the only one that matches up with that. So let's look at these and determine if they're like or unlike. You can pause the video and see what you get. So I'm going to circle my like terms in pink. So I'm looking at B and C. Those are not like terms. Y and Y, those are. X and no name, those are not like, they're unlike. No name and no name, those are like terms. X and x squared, those aren't the same. k squared and k squared, those are like. So if they are not like, then they're going to be unlike. So the rest of these ones we said were unlike. The way that I explain it is that variable is its last name. And so if you're a family, typically you have the same last name. Not always, but typically that's how it is. And so if B and C don't have the same last name, they are not like. Y and Y, those are the same last names. They are a family. They are like terms. So now we're going to be working on the word combine. So combine means put them together. So we're combining the like terms. So I'm drawing my great walls. If I could draw. And then I'm going to be looking for my like terms. So I like to use different colors or different shapes to group up my numbers. So I'm going to use red for my A, and I'm going to look to see if I see any other numbers that have a last name of A. And this one does here. So those two are like terms, which leaves that 9 by itself. Now I'm going to be combining my like terms. Remember, the word combine means put together. So we're going to take 5a and negative 2a and put them together. When I combine these two numbers, I'm going to ignore the last name for a minute and just focus on those coefficients. Remember, coefficients is the number out front. So we've got 5 plus negative 2, because those are my two numbers out front. 5 plus negative 2 is 3, and then it keeps its last name of A. There's nothing to combine with this 9, so it's just going to stay a positive 9. And that's going to be my final answer for combining those like terms. Let's look at this next problem. So I'm going to draw my great walls that are separating all my terms, and then I'm going to work on combining my like terms. What I would like you to do now is to pause your video, try this problem out, see if you can combine the like terms, and then check with me after. And here's my answer. So you should have gotten negative 3 from your M's and 2/3 from your no names. So here's a couple of other problems to combine like terms. So if you did poorly on this last problem here, maybe try out these problems to see how well you do. If you did well on the last one, just try out the most confusing one, aka the one in the middle there, because this one has a lot of different numbers. So pause the video and try out all the problems you need in order to learn this better. And here are your answers. So for the first one, you should have gotten negative 4x plus negative 2. You could have also said negative 4x minus 2. That's the same thing. Second one, you should have gotten negative 8 plus 1.8y plus 6.4y to the second. And then our last one is negative 0.7w plus 1.1. Here's a quick challenge problem for you just to get a little bit more practice. So there's a lot happening with this one. See if you can simplify it and figure out what letter it matches. And you should have gotten B. So this is my little bit of work over here. So we have a huge X family. There's 4 members in this X family. So I took all of the coefficients, all the numbers out front, and just added them together to get 2, kept the X last name, and then the only like term for this one is 3. So I just added in a plus 3, and your answer was B. Here's your homework. So you're on page 84. You're doing numbers 3 through 8 and 11 through 14. Let me know if you have any questions.